are PEDs required to compete in bodybuilding? So we kind of got a two-part answer here. I'm going to say yes, but no. So let's start with the no route first. So say you're a first-time competitor, you've never done a show before, you've been training in the gym for 6 months, and somebody's like, oh my God, you should try bodybuilding. Maybe they notice you have a decent structure, or wide clavicles, or a decently sized back, or big legs, or whatever it is. Like, you should really look into bodybuilding. And you say you've been training for that 6 months. Do you need PEDs to compete? No, it's not a requirement. There's nobody with a gun to your head saying you have to use performance enhancing drugs to jump on your local bodybuilding stage. So from that sense, no. And also with that too, guys, there are organizations, and I'm referring to the NPC, which is going to be the National Physique Committee for, that's where you turn, you can turn to be an IFBB pro and that kind of thing. But there are also organizations out there like the OCB that are, natural and drug tested organizations. So for you guys that, are just hard fast against using performance enhancing drugs, there is an avenue for you to compete there as well. And there's a few others, but I apologize, I'm not very familiar with it. And another aspect to consider too, say you've only been training for 6 months and you're new into training like a bodybuilder, eating like a bodybuilder, that kind of thing, or maybe your diet's not 100% on point either, or your training's not optimized, or you don't have a coach, or any kind of guidance like that. To be honest with you, it would be kind of foolish to just jump on a bunch of gear. And the reason I say that is, honestly, guys, at that point, at that level of athlete, you don't know if you even like the sport yet. You've perhaps never even been to a bodybuilding show, or, you've watched a few videos, but that's about all the research you've done. Yeah, at that point, you definitely do not need to become enhanced. You need to get more time under your belt, more training, more consistent training, proper diet. Make sure all your ducks are in a row before that's even a consideration. And then even before you consider it, I would suggest doing your first show naturally, just to see if you even like the sport, see if that's something you even wanted to pursue for the long term. Now, or you could honestly stay in a natural organization and become a pro in a natural organization. Is it the same? No, it's not. It's a different caliber. But I don't want to take credit away from those guys, because they work. Natural athletes, they come in fucking peeled, boys. I am telling you, conditioning from a lot of the natural guys is crazy. But yeah, that's what I would consider if you were a first-time competitor or someone just super new into the sport. Is first and foremost, go to a show. Make sure all of your your training is optimized. You make sure you have a coach. Make sure your diet is on point. All those kind of things. And then diet yourself down, or obviously you and your coach diet down, do your first show, and then kind of go from there. See if it's something you would want to even pursue for the long term, and kind of make that decision as you go. And that's a decision only you can make. It's such a personal decision, like you're the only one that has to be at peace with it. So that brings us into our second caliber of athlete. Maybe you've been training consistently with, maybe you have a coach, maybe you don't. You've been training consistently for, say 2 to 5 years. Your diet is spotless. You're on top of all your nutrition. You're on top of all your recovery, and you feel like you've kind of gotten the most out of natural training, so to speak. And personally, I do not believe that you have to maximize your genetic potential before you become enhanced. Just because, only reason I say that is because that's such a kind of an unrealistic thing, because you really don't know what you don't know when you're going to hit that ceiling. But you're researching bodybuilding, you're obsessed with it, you go to sleep thinking about bodybuilding, you wake up thinking about bodybuilding, and you watch live streams or go to shows, and you're regularly doing those things, so what's kind of involved with the sport. You have an idea of what it takes to hopefully compete at a higher level, or turn pro or go to the Olympia, you have an idea what that kind of looks like, what that trajectory looks like, so to speak. What do you do? So what I would suggest to all those people that are considering, becoming enhanced, first and foremost, when you think you've done enough research, spend more time, because there's so many nuanced things to becoming enhanced that that you don't realize. And even more importantly than that, guys, doing blood work. So before you become enhanced, before you take your first testosterone injection, go to your either primary care or a specialized, like a testosterone clinic, that type of thing, and do your baseline blood work and make sure all of your health markers are in check before you ever hop on a cycle. And the reason you want to do that, guys, is for one, you want to make sure you're healthy. Make sure you don't have any underlying health conditions that, could hurt you in the long term, by becoming enhanced. And, from that point, say all your health markers look good. And, it's a decision that you feel like you want to make. You want to go pro in the sport, or you want to compete at a high level as a high level national competitor, or whatever it is. From that point, guys, get with your coach and get a plan together to become enhanced. Get a cycle design, kind of laid out. And something I would suggest is, starting off very, very light. Less is definitely more when it comes to PEDs. Get the most out of the least amount of, androgens possible. It's not a race to ramp doses up crazy high, especially when you first start out. You don't need it. You can get so much out of so little that it's insane, especially if you have good genetics and you're a good responder to androgens. It's honestly amazing what you can get out of a small amount of PEDs. But you make that decision, and you and your coach put together an outline for a contest prep or an off season, whatever the case is. Ideally, I would probably start with an off season, but that's just my recommendation. And you can kind of reverse engineer the cycle and see where you need to go. Get your plan together, and so okay, it's now time to take your first shot, or whatever it is. Take your first shot of testosterone. I'm just going to call it what it is. And hopefully, you don't run into any side effects. You don't run into any estrogen conversion side effects or anything like that. Everything is super smooth. You complete your off-season phase or do your show. Hopefully, if you do your show, you win and get qualified for nationals and go on about your happy way. So, from that point, you're left with a couple of different options. So you can do one of two things at that point. You can either, and you need to do this research beforehand and have this plan set in place before you ever even start. So you can either do a PCT, which is going to be a post-cycle therapy, and cycle off the androgens, cycle off that properly. And I'm not going to get into what a proper PCT protocol looks like, because quite frankly, I'm uneducated in that topic. In that regard, it's not something I do. Or you can take the route that a lot of guys do, and something that I personally did, because my testosterone levels naturally were in the shitter. So you can, either PCT off, or you can drop down to a cruise dose, which essentially is just a TRT level amount of testosterone, and cruise at that for an extended period of time. So once you drop, say you decide to cruise or PCT, it is so important, guys, roughly 4 to 6 weeks after your blast phase, go do your blood work again and see what all your health markers look like then, and make sure, guys, that you're coming back down to at or near your baseline blood work, and just be on top of your health markers. That way, if there's a problem that's arose, you can get on top of it and get the problem corrected. Don't wait till the problem becomes major and you're having to do crazy stuff to get it resolved. So the way I look at it is, I would rather be proactive versus reactive in that sense. So, and another thing to do as far as, once you get your blood work done, you've either cruised or you PCT'd off, and you're transitioning into an off season or maybe another contest prep, whatever. Before you decide to blast into, a bunch more androgens again, go do blood work again, and make sure that you're healthy before you blast again. And typically a rule of thumb in the bodybuilding space is time off is the same as the time you were on. So say you ran a 16-week cycle, ideally, a good general rule of thumb is to stay off cycle for 16 weeks before you blast. And that's not concrete, guys, but it's a very generalized rule of thumb that a lot of guys follow. But your blood work honestly should dictate it more than just a hard and fast timeline like that. But yeah, guys, so if you cycle off, you do your blood work after you cycle off, and you're either cruising or you did the proper PCT, before you decide to blast again, guys, go do blood work and make sure that you're healthy before you decide to blast, and repeat the process. PCT off or cruise and do blood work, because I'm telling you guys, bodybuilding is not worth risking long-term health for. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna wrap this one up here. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and keep us rolling in the comment section, and let us know what you want to see moving forward or how I can improve my videos. So thank you, guys.